Hi, this is Dave Redder. This is the fifth project, which is based on Project 4, which was based on Project 3. And what you're looking at here is essentially what we did in Project 4. Basically, the app, as you can recall, looked like this as it was running. We have a little simple Hello World program, had a place for a greeting. We can click on Say Hello World and do this, and it'll show up there. And that's the extent of the Project 3 Hello World program. In Project 4, we added this clear greeting. We added this business here of saying we would like to greet someone else or someone, some place or whatever. Hello Bob is what we used. And notice that as we changed this here, we ended up changing this. And then when we click on that, it says Hello Bob. And that's pretty much the extent of the testing we did, but it's also not correct yet. And we're going to fix that in this Project 5. Notice if I happen to delete these things, it continues to modify what's on that button. And if I delete them all the way, it simply says hello, and there's no name there or no world there. If I click hello, it does get it right there. But there's an error in the code because that should never end up looking like that on completion. So if I just had a B here, or BO there, let's say, then hello Bo, and I can click on it and that's fine, but it doesn't know to go back to the hello world part when we delete those. So we're going to fix that, but we're not going to do it in the way you might think. And the reason is because everybody from a novice to an experienced programmer can suffer from the business of thinking, I can fix that in just a couple of pieces of code. And that's probably the case here. But what we need to do is to examine what we've got and figure out perhaps even how we ended up making this mistake, and then trying to figure out how to correct it so that it'll be at least simpler to manage than it is right now. So if you look at this, let's run this again. We have two things that we're managing. One thing we're managing is what it says on this button. Another thing we're managing is what it says in this greeting. And the content of this greeting is determined based on what's in here. We also can clear the greeting, as you recall, but the content is based on what's in here. If this is empty, it's supposed to say hello world. If it's not empty, it's supposed to say hello whatever is in here, and clicking the button is supposed to put whatever it says between the quotes on this button in there. Well, take a look at this. This is our code. This is the code that we used to determine what will be in the greeting text box at the very top. And in here we have this business right here that sometimes this string that we see right there is what we want to put in that box, and some other times this string minus the quotes is what we would like to put there. But we didn't manage that very well in the previous app. So what I'm going to do is just imagine this. Let's suppose we had a method called getGreeting. And we could say, instead of all of that text there, m_text box greeting dot text is equal to getGreeting. If we had such a method, how do you think it would look, or what do you think it would look like? Well, I think it would look a lot like that, except instead of where we make those assignments, we're going to simply return that string. And that would allow us to get the greeting from the string. So we could copy and paste that and come down here somewhere and make a new method called getGreeting and put this in there, or we could type it all over or whatever. But Visual Studio has a really neat little feature, as do many other world-class kinds of development environments. I'm going to click on Edit. And I'm going to have to scoot this down here so you can see what's happening. So Edit, Refactor, and I don't think you can see that either. It's going off the wrong way. I'm going to do Edit, Refactor, extract method. Notice you can do Control R, Control M if you want to do that. That stands for refactor method. But I'm going to click on extract method. And look what it did over here. In this code, it created this new method. And I can call it what I'd like. And what I'm going to call it is get greeting. And now I have this method called get greeting. And I'm going to have it return a string. And I'm going to have it return this string here, or return this string here. And I must have typed over my if m underscore text box 1 to greet dot text is equal to null, then I want to do this thing. So I've got this new method here, and I'm going to get rid of, I've got get greeting in both places because it created one for me there. But now I've got exactly the same thing happening. And if you look at this, I can do this, and I can click on say hello, and it still works. I can clear it. I can type Bob, and I can clear or get hello Bob, and then I can delete these. But I still have the same problem. So what good did this do? Well, the fact is that what good it did was it allows me to get the greeting no matter what, no matter where I'm at in the code. And this allows me then to take this piece that you see right here and assign whatever the greeting is to that part of this string and put it on that hello button, that hello world button, say hello world. So I'm going to change this just a little bit, and I'm going to say this. I've got this quote here. I'm going to then say plus, and then I'm going to put another quote there. And if you look at this, and I do this piece here too. This is kind of ugly, but it does what we need, and it's going to get prettier here in just a second. What I want this button to say, oops. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got another quote I've got to put on there. What I'd like this button to say is say, quote, hello world, quote, or whatever this is supposed to put in here. I need it between those quotes. That quote and that quote are these two quotes, this backslash or escape as it's called, escape quote and escape quote. Those are the beginning and ending quotes there. So all I've done is extract this piece out. But take a look at that. Does it look like anything else we've got? Well, in fact, it looks like this piece right here. But I really need this to vary depending on whether this thing is empty, has the empty string in it, or not. If it's got the empty string in it, I want it to be hello world. And if it doesn't have the empty string in it, I want it to be hello, comma, whatever that string is, and an exclamation mark. But that's precisely what get greeting does. So if I do this now and get rid of all of this and put in its place get greeting, and now run this thing, I can click down here and type Bob, and it gets that right. But notice when I delete it now, boom, it knows that this greeting is what it's supposed to be. So what's actually happened here is that we've taken this concept of deciding what the string ought to be away from the part where the click event was handling and put it in a method of its own, that its only job in this whole world is to decide what the greeting ought to be. And I need that information right here, but I also need it right here. And so instead of having this piece of code in several places, we can refactor it, which is what that's called, if you'll recall when you saw this over here, edit, refactor, and extract method. I don't have anything marked here to extract a method with, but that's what refactoring is about. Taking code that you've got and kind of giving it a name and redefining how it works. The redefinition here is that instead of storing that directly into this place or this place, well, actually, yeah, or either place actually, right here, text greeting or hello world button, we simply extract it, we pass it back to whoever asked for it, and let that method decide what to do with it. In this case, we simply wanted to put it in the text field for the greeting text box. In this case, we wanted to put it in the text field of the say hello world button. And so we end up getting to do with it what we want. This guy was doing too much work when we did that assignment. When we had it back before, where the assignment was to m_text box greeting text, it didn't allow us to do the same assignment using this thing without repeating the code. One of the things we want to always watch out for is repeating code. So hopefully that will give you just a little nice introduction to what refactoring is about, one piece of refactoring is about. And you can see that the code is much easier to manage now. It's easier to read. And the other good part, the biggest part, is that it works. Thanks for listening. This is Project 5 using Visual Studio refactoring techniques. Hope you enjoyed it.